The one thing that I just took from what you had said was even though a lot of math and science students will say like they don't really need to know a lot of English and how to write an essay, I think it's more so what I've learned as like a political science student reading and writing a lot is it's not necessarily about how you read and write, but it's more so just how you articulate yourself.
Sure.
And how you can form the ideas in your head onto a pen and paper. And even if it's not about writing, it's like, okay, well, it kind of goes hand in hand with speaking too. Because if you can, I find that if you can write effectively, properly, and efficiently, an essay or, you know, some type of legal memo, whatever the issue is,
100%.
then I feel like you have a better time at speaking. And I feel like as a math or science student, someone who wants to be in that career, it's still kind of important to be able to explain. Like if you want to be a doctor, having interpersonal skills is still pretty important, you know, depending on what you're doing, whether it's breaking bad news or even giving good news. Speaking and
that was my pitch as a high school English teacher. My student, like started every class, like I think this is the most important course you're going to take, and here's why. And it's not like I don't think any of you are going to go off to be English majors or want to be English teachers, or very few are going to go off to be writers. But it's it's universal skills, and it depends on how you want to look at it. And like from Ontario, that's the curriculum. It's not you're going to have to read Shakespeare and then write a 5-paragraph essay on Shakespeare. It's you have to be able to effectively communicate in writing or as a speaker. You need to be able to read and analyze a text and think about it critically. You need to understand media and how to create media and how to critique media. That's the curriculum, and I think like those are universal skills no matter what you want to go into.
Definitely.
So I agree with you 100%. Like, you may not be writing a 5-paragraph essay or a literary essay or deconstructing a text, but if you can't write effectively to communicate, and we see this all the time, like we live in a world of email, right? You see, like, I have no idea what this person's asking me to do when I read this email, right? And it's because it's usually the person has no idea, like they're not a good writer, or they're not expressing themselves well as a writer, right? Or if you got to write a report writing for work is so key, and if you're not summarizing the key findings you have and you're sharing that with a team of other people, and you don't express yourself where they don't really quite understand, they don't have the time to come back to you for that could cost the company a lot of money sometimes.
Yeah, you're right. It could jeopardize a lot. Do you think the English curriculum specifically is doing well?
That's a loaded question for an English teacher in the English teacher world. I'll be honest and say, like, I think the curriculum itself is actually really good in Ontario, because it's really generic. It's, again, there's 4 key strands in Ontario for the English curriculum, and it's the same from grade 1 through grade 12, and even the curriculum stays almost the same, because it's more about progression throughout, as opposed to very different things each time. And the 4 strands, it's like literally reading, writing, oral communication, and media studies. I think the curriculum is actually brilliant, and even though it's like 15, some of the oldest curriculums in Ontario hasn't been updated for like 17 years, the skills are the same still, pretty much, and they're universal skills. I think those like 4 skills are key. Like, I don't think you could name an industry to me or a field to me where you don't have to be an effective writer, you don't have to be able to read and understand something, you don't have to properly and effectively express yourself orally, and having some basic understanding of how media works and understanding media. I can't think of a profession that doesn't require those skills. Now, I'll preface and say, like, how we often teach high school English is there's like this canon of high school English. I think this is the way we've been doing it for the past 30 or 40 years, and so we're kind of still rolling with this. So this is my own personal take. Like, I don't think some teachers, I think, look at the high school English classroom as preparing students to be English lit majors in university. And I think, like, again, a writer's craft course may be cool. I get that. That's the field you're going to. But every student in Ontario in grade 11 through high school, it's the only course you have to take all 4 years, right? It's mandated. And it's if you're applying for college or university, any college or university in Ontario, you have to use English as one of your top 6 classes. And there's a good reason for that, and it's not because you're going off to be an English lit major. So we shouldn't be using English to teach people to be English lit majors. We should be using English to help students develop those skills, which are universal. And so I think how we do that could maybe be updated in a lot of classes.
Well, the only reason why I was curious is because the other day I was speaking to one of my friends who's also in political science, and we were just talking about how the big discrepancy between going from like grade 12 English to political science is you're reading a lot more, and you're reading journal articles, and like a lot of the stuff is a lot heavier or more condensed, I should say.
For sure.
Compared to like Shakespeare or compared to what was that one book we always read?
There's a
Lord of the Flies.
Lord of the Flies, yeah.
Yeah, stuff like
again,
that.
Like I said, that English canon, right? Like, here are the things. And I'll be saying, like, there's some, and again, I love Shakespeare personally. I go to Stratford Festival every year when it's open. I can geek and read about Shakespeare, but I also fully appreciate it. A lot of my students want nothing to do with the guy. Yeah. And there's pros and cons there, like even Lord of the Flies. Like, there's a universal lesson there, and there's something to be said, like, you can pretty much talk to anyone about Lord of the Flies, and they know, and they read it, which is kind of cool. But I agree, like, should those be the only things we cover? No. Like, again, looking at a journal or a journal article or a research paper, those are things that can and I think should be covered in the English classroom too. Like, looking at different styles of text and different forms of writing, and even giving space for students to follow their own interests. So, like, I'm teaching you the skills of how to analyze and deconstruct a text and understand a text. What text you read doesn't really need to be relevant, right? There's nowhere in the curriculum does it say you have to teach Shakespeare. Nowhere in the curriculum does it say you have to read Lord of the Flies. That's not in the curriculum. And yeah, I can see the faces because it's like I said, it's not the curriculum. The curriculum is general. It's like general skills of writing, general skills of reading, general skills of being an effective listener and an effective speaker. There's like nothing that says thou shalt teach this book or this text. It's just that's what English teachers do.